Hey everyone. Yeah, as you can probably see, I'm under a canopy right now because it's kind of raining outside. You know, I don't really want to get this that wet. But I thought I'd kind of talk about uh, the situation with the Hedgehog comic book. I know I did an audio update about this past weekend or this past week or so, and you know, I still kind of believe the comic's going to come back, but now all of a sudden we get some tweets coming from Jennifer Hernandez and Tracy Yardling about they need to find work, freelancing and stuff, and I will admit that it kind of doesn't sound too good when you have two very talented artists saying they need to look for work. Now, I can understand, in a sense, why they would need to look for work, why they feel that they need to find work, and, like I say, why they need to find work and stuff, and basically, trying to get some income going in the households and stuff to pay bills and rent and all that. So I can understand that. But sometimes it's not usually a good sign when this occurs, because it's like, well, wait a minute. It's like, wait a minute. Now you have two talented artists that have been primary stays. Hold on for a second. Sorry, but that have been like mainstays on your comic, and now all of a sudden they're coming out and saying, we got to look for work, we got to find other avenues of income. And sometimes people might say, well, that's not usually a good sign, and it typically sometimes isn't, because you don't know exactly what that means, especially for the future of a comic book. Now, like I said, Ian Flynn has not come out and said anything. No representative of Archie Comics or Sega have come out and said anything. And and that's kind of disappointing, because you don't know what's going on. I mean, usually, the last time something like this occurred was, of course, printing problems and obviously, relocation of offices and stuff, and that's one thing. But now you're talking about the fact that you got subscribers like myself that are waiting, that if something doesn't happen, if we don't get some kind of answer, it's going to make us want to demand refunds. And eventually, if Archie Comics is leaning towards the way of saying, okay, that's it for the comic, we can't do anymore, and people like me are in the middle of a subscription or resubscribing, then I believe they have no other choice but to refund us for the issues we didn't get. They have to refund us. They have to basically say, here's the money that we owe you, that you would have spent or would have gone towards the rest of your subscription. And they have to do that. They have to come out and do that if they don't give us a straight answer as to when and if the comics are coming back. Now, I still strongly believe they're going to be around. It's just, when? Is Archie being put in such a pickle right now by Sega that, like I said in the audio, Sega's probably coming out and saying, hey, look, we have no problem with the comics, so, we want you to continue doing them, but we want it done in this specific way, to where, okay, you can have, let's say, established Sat AM or retooled or retconned or softly rebooted, Sat AM characters, thrown in the mix, but we want the main focus to be on the game cast. We want the main focus to be on what the comic is named after. Is that the reasoning? Is that why maybe the comics are being delayed possibly till the end of the year? Because any story they probably had finalized or ready to be published or ready to be inked now has to be reworked, rewritten. Any story that was originally planned to be released is now being shelved in favor of a newer version. If that's the case, then to me, come out and say something. In my opinion, come out and say something to us, the fans. Let us know that this is the reason. That might be the reason. Let someone like Tracy Yardlin or Jennifer Hernandez know that might be the reason. Because literally what you're doing is, by not saying a word, you're basically insulting your consumers. And that's not a good thing. That's not really a good thing to do. When one thinks about it, it's not really a good thing to do. Now, one thing, it's one thing to not let your consumers know what you're doing. It's another thing not to let your own creative team know what you're doing. Hold on for a second. Sorry about that, but like I said, it's one thing to not even let your creative team know what you're doing, and I think that's what's probably ticking off Tracy and Jennifer a lot, is that they're even in the dark. I'm sure Ian Flynn's in the dark as well, but I'm sure Ian Flynn knows a little bit more than he's letting on. I mean, why do you think he's blocked people like me? Why do you think he's blocked other people that probably want to question him and see what he knows, who knows what's going on? Because he probably knows a little bit more than he's letting on, but he can't say anything. And that's what's disappointing. Now, as far as the future of the comic as a whole, a lot of people are speculating as to where it may end up next publishing-wise. Like, who would obtain the rights next? And when I look at that kind of scenario, I look at the fact that, I look at all these possibilities out there. And I remember doing a video last year when I lived here in Patterson on Thoroughbred down that way. I remember doing a video when I lived in Thoroughbred down that way here in Patterson, that I said going to IDW will not solve the problems. And I still kind of look at it that way, but when I think about it, something has been catching my eye. Something caught my eye. Alright, you see, IDW may not be a total answer and solution, but I think IDW might be a temporary solution. Like, if you're going to finish off the comic and at least give, let's say, people like me who subscribe to it the money's worth in subscriptions, then licensing out, or at least partnering with another comic book publisher to make it happen, to me is the best opportunity. And IDW has obviously proven that they don't have a problem with this, because, in case you don't know, over the past several years, and I think concluding next year, they are in graphic form releasing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Adventure comic stories by Archie Comics. That's right. They are re-releasing in graphic novel form 4 to 5 issues each, maybe 6. They are releasing in graphic novel form the Ninja Turtle Adventure comics that were done by Archie. So my thought is IDW could be the solution. Look at that. Like I said, IDW could be the solution temporarily, not just to finish off the comic as we know it, so at least it gets a proper finale and ending. But if you need to re-release graphic novels with all the stories and everything, then IDW is probably the best choice to go with. It really is, in my opinion. It really is, in my opinion, that it's the best choice to go with. Because right now it seems, and maybe it's my own opinion, but it seems that Archie Comics is more focused on Riverdale than anything else. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, I'm intrigued by Riverdale myself. Even though I haven't watched the episodes yet, and I've tried to DVR them, even though my mom deleted my DVR recordings of Riverdale. Don't know why. But anyway, it seems that, Archie Comics is more focused on that. And again, like I said, it's not a bad thing. But when you focus on one thing, you basically, when you start focusing on one thing and other things that are related to it, you basically start ignoring the other titles that make you a lot of money as well. And Sonic's comic, and the Sonic comic, and the Sonic Universe comic were some of the best sellers they had. Even the graphic novels, the archives, the digest were some of the best things best financial sellers that they had, and yet now they're ignoring them because of the focus on Riverdale. And if that was the case, they should have at least came out and said, hey, look, we'll release the issues and everything, but we're going to release them every so often, like every quarter or every two to 3 months. Oh, it's because we're focusing on Riverdale now. We want to focus on making that the best thing it can be. And again, like I said, to me, when you do that, you start ignoring the other successes, the other properties that have proven to be a success for you, licensed or original. You start ignoring them. And when you start ignoring them, like I said, that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing to do. So to me, if IDW comes into play as being the one that is a temporary salvation for this comic and for the readers and the fans, then I look at it as being a temporary salvation as to finishing off the comic as it is, and then probably being a salvation for reprints of the comic in graphic novel form like they've done with the Ninja Turtle Adventures. It would make sense. It would work. It'd be a financial gain for both parties, both Archie and IDW. To me, it would be worth it in the end. Because when you think about it, honestly, do you think Archie Comics likes losing this extra income? No, they don't. So I think IDW is going to be coming into play real soon. Something just tells me this. They're going to be coming into play real soon to help finish off the comic's current run. Maybe work out a deal to where they start licensing this, to where maybe Sega turns the license over to them and they sort of start from scratch. Maybe use the soft retcon rebooted universe as a platform, as a foundation for their Sonic comics. If IDW gets involved, use the same characters and everything so that there's no unfamiliarity. And this way, like I said, at the same time, you not only allow the current run of the comic under the license of Archie Comics to come to an end through the partnership with IDW, but then by turning over said licensing to IDW working with Sega to do so, it also benefits by the fact that you know IDW through their own history is going to possibly reprint the entire comic line in graphic novel form. And sure, it may take a lot longer than what's going on with the Ninja Turtle Adventures, because that's only like 72 issues. But you would know that IDW is going to reprint a lot of the comic, if not many of the major arcs of the previous continuity and the new soft retcon rebooted continuity in graphic novel form, so that way a lot of newer readers and older readers could could catch up on, or look back at some of the best stories that were done with the comic. If not, like I say, start collecting the comic as a whole, even through graphic novel form. So to me, I think Archie Comics and Sega need to at least get IDW involved. And again, I think IDW will get involved. It's just not when, it's just not if, but when, and it's not where, but it's only a matter of time. I feel it's coming. I'm sure a lot of people have been voicing their opinion on the fact that IDW is probably going to be the one that gets called upon to help bring finality to this. Because like I said, the best way for them to do this is to partner with IDW so that you could finish off the current run of the comic, and subscribers and like me can get the issues in the mail, and then at the same time, after you finish off the current run of the comic, which could go to like 300 or so, then use the new soft retcon or rebooted universe as a platform to start over with their own first issue of a Sonic the Hedgehog comic book, and maybe a Sonic Universe comic book. Like I say, kind of start over from scratch. Match with issue 1 for both comics. Like I say, that are slated or focused on in the whose primary focus, I should say, is in the new soft retcon universe in continuity. Allow them to start focusing there and go from there, and at the same time allow them to do what they're doing with the Ninja Turtle comics. Allow them to start reprinting reprinting maybe 5 issues, 10 issues each, in huge graphic novels of the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book and Sonic Universe comic book, and so on, when it was all part of Archie Comics, just like they're doing with Ninja Turtles. Or in some cases, just reprint the major arcs of the past continuity and the new continuity, like Archie Comics is doing now. So that way, in the end, like I said, it could be a win-win situation for both parties, for all 3 parties. One, Archie can finish off the Sonic Hedgehog. Archie and Sega could finish off the comic book, with the help of IDW. Archie, along with Sega's help and agreement, can pass it on to IDW, who knows how to handle licensing better, and doesn't really have any shows or any properties that are that are bound for television or movie or bound for television or theatrical release. Thus Sega gets a guaranteed comic book licensee that they can depend on, and they know can handle the licensing correctly. And Archie Comics, in the end, can focus on the properties that they need to focus on, primarily Riverdale. So that's what I think needs to happen. I think, honestly, if IDW comes into play, this would not only allow Tracy and Jennifer to go back to work, but it would allow things to come to a sort of bittersweet end. One, like I said, IDW can help Archie and Sega finish off the current run of the comic by Archie Comics. Thus, people like me, you, and anybody else can finally see the final, 7-10 issues that go up to 300. Finish it up at 300, and then pass it on to IDW. Thus, Sega continues having a licensed comic, but this time through a publisher who knows how to handle licensed comics and doesn't ignore them when they start to put all the focus on a mainstream property like Riverdale, which is based on their original established characters that put their company on the map. Thus, Archie at the same time gets to focus on that now, while IDW, like I said, that doesn't have nothing mainstream, television or movie-wise to focus on, can focus their efforts on that comic as well. You take a look at all the properties they have, from Transformers, My Little Pony, Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters. They're handling these all very well, and these are different licenses. These are all different licenses. So, even Disney, they even work with Disney and all that, and these are all completely different licenses and companies, and they're doing a great job focusing on these. And I think adding Sonic to the mix would help, but the way, like I said, that it can be done is a win-win situation for all three parties. So that's just my thoughts on what's going on right now with the comic. What time is it? I've got about 30 minutes before I have to clock in, so I'm going to get me some breakfast. But I thought I'd kind of give my thoughts on it and how I believe IDW is going to come into play. Not if, but when they do. It's only a matter of time. And how it's going to be, and how they'll get involved, and how I think that's going to be the transition for the comic to go from one publisher to another, if that happens, which looks like more than likely could. But we'll just have to wait and see. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with it? Comment down below, and I'll talk to y'all later.